Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the St. Tammany Parish Planning Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 12th, 2016. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Ms. Casabon? Mr. Lauren? Mr. Richardson? Mr. Richard? Mr. Willie? Mr. Davis? Mr. Doherty? Mr. Drum? And Mr. Randolph. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Did you get
Mr. Fitzmaurice, I'm so sorry.
Present and accounted for? At this time, we would ask that you silence all phones and electronic devices. If you wish to appeal any recommendation of the Commission, our appeals cards are to our right. If you wish to speak in front of the Commission, we respectfully ask that you fill out a speaker's card so we have your name and address for the record. Each side will be provided 10 minutes with a 5-minute rebuttal. And lastly, after each case, if you wish to discuss it further, we would ask that you leave the building, as if you go back into the lobby area, it echoes into the chamber. This time I would ask you to stand for an invocation by Commissioner Casabon, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Thank you. Commissioners, in our package are the June 14th, 2016 minutes. Entertain any motions. Commissioner Richard.
I move to approve.
Second. A motion by Commissioner Richard to approve, a second by Commissioner Lauren.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Dougherty.
on the minutes that are attached, it's got a Tuesday, June 15th date on it. I know it's a typo, but we've got the 14th on this, and 14th is correct.
Thank you, Commissioner Dougherty. Please, for the record, make note, it should be June 14th. Noted. We have a motion by Commissioner Richard to approve, a second by Commissioner Lauren. Please vote. Motion carries. This is a public hearing. The public is invited to speak on behalf of any of the cases. Entering parish right-of-way, servitudes and easements. Entering parish right-of-way, 6th Street, Ward 4, District 5. The request to enter parish right-of-way for the purpose of gaining access to property. The debtor, MDM LLC, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Reichert Taladano. Staff?
Yes, this enter the parish right-of-way, specifically the unopened portion of 6th Street, Square 24, Chinchuba subdivision, for the purpose of gaining access to property.
Thank you. Mr. Moran.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Maroon on behalf of MDM LLC. This is a request to enter.
Excuse me, I don't believe your microphone's working.
Now?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Moran.
This request to enter the right-of-way is the same request that this body heard, I believe, some years back, maybe as far back as 07 or 08. Permission at that time was granted, but the connection was never made and the property was not brought into commerce. The reason for the request now is there is a sale pending for the property. It will be brought into commerce. We'd like the opportunity to connect out to the service road, and we need to cross 6th Street to be able to do that. So we have no objection to the requirements set forth in the proposed resolution that was attached to your packet, and we'd respectfully request your approval subject to those conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I would close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Dougherty.
Yes, Paul or Ron, what is the current zoning on this property? I did not see it, so.
I believe it's HC1 or HC2. but I'm not certain about that, Mr. Doherty.
It looks like it's HC1 from the proposed drawing that was provided by Kelly McHugh.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Richard?
I move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Richard to approve, second by Commissioner Willie. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. Entering Parish right-of-way, 10th Street, Ward 4, District 5. Request to enter the parish right-of-way for the purpose of gaining access to property. The debtor, Darling Design Homes, Inc., Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Reichert Taladano. Staff?
The petitioner is requesting to enter the parish right-of-way in accordance with the attached conceptual plan prepared by Kelly McHugh and Associates, which indicates the asphalt roadway will be 16 feet wide in lieu of a 20-foot wide required roadway, and is attached letter dated June 27, 2016. The Department of Engineering has reviewed the drawings and has no objection to the departure from the 20-foot wide roadway due to the extenuating circumstances with the 48-inch oak tree and the minimum traffic that will be generated by the two lots. Should the Planning Commission approve the end of the right-of-way, a waiver will be required in accordance with Section 4100 Waivers and Regulations. A two-thirds majority affirmative vote of the Planning Commission membership will be required.
Thank you. You are the petitioner.
Yes,
If you
sir.
would state your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. Buddy Coate, here on behalf of the petitioner, Darling Design Homes, Inc. The address is 401 Marina Oaks, Mandeville, 70471.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. We had petitioned to open 10th Street north to where it meets the unnamed street, which is the property boundary contiguous with Bo Shin. And it's kind of an, I guess the request is opening the parish right-of-way with a twist. Can I pass these? Can y'all view these?
Yes,
This is the reason for the request. How-
Give it to staff.
This is
They'll
one staff.
distribute it to the commission. Thank you.
Yeah, two different ones. It just shows a picture of the oak tree, and that's the twist. We were going to originally just ask to open the right-of-way to access. We own lots 39A and 36A on the plat, on Kelly's plat. And we met with engineering, public works, planning, to see if there was interest in maneuvering the street around the oak tree to where we could keep it. And it seemed like they did have an interest. And at that meeting, we had a few ideas and got back with Kelly's office, who got back with Mr. Earl's office. And this is the result of that meeting, subject to y'all's review and comment. It's really that simple. Is there any questions, or?
They'll address them at the right time.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Please come to the podium and state your name and address. You want to speak in favor or in opposition, sir? Opposition, okay. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Sir, please come to the podium, state your name and address.
My name is Rick Staggers. I live at 2247 10th, which is at the end of the block where they're going to start the extension. And for obvious reasons, traffic and the construction and such as that, I'm opposed to it as everybody else is on the block. But again, it's about the oak tree, and I appreciate that they're thinking about trying to save it, but from my investigation, that's next to impossible. Whether they put concrete, limestone, whatever they're trying to do. And I have my pictures as well, if I may.
If you would give them to staff and they'll distribute.
This is the end of the block right there, the first one, and then these other three are other oak trees they're going to be tearing down on the property they're going to build on. beautiful oak tree, and I think that's a big issue in this scenario. I mean, not just the neighborhood's inconvenience, et cetera. And I assume this, from what I've been told, will probably go on, but from what I've learned, that it'll be almost impossible for them to save the oak tree. So if this goes forward, then there's some restitution, I think, that should be paid, planting oak trees elsewhere and so forth. I hope it stopped. I kind of doubt it, but I appreciate your thoughts on this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in opposition? This time, would you care to rebut? Would the petitioner care to rebut?
I guess we'd like to open it to access our property. We own the 2 lots at the end of the street, just like those other neighbors had built on the street when it was opened. The only difference is, yeah, we're asking for some variance in the roadway width with this request rather than just the opening of the right-of-way, and to work with engineering and planning to try to get, that plan approved where we think it will save that oak tree.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Staggers, would you care to make any further comment? No, sir. Thank you. This time, we would close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
I have a question for the individual, just, Mr. Buddy, is it? Yes. So you're just gonna build 2 residences out there, right? One on each lot?
Right, yes, sir, we own 2 lots, and we'd,
And that's the only way to get out there?
yes, sir. Well, there is a street on the, there is a lot on the west side. We don't own that, but it's 1 lot. I think it goes to the end. I forget the lot number.
Is
should-
that
it
not
should be on the
Iberville
plat.
Street that's not constructed, it says here? Or is there another access into lot 39A?
Yeah, that north, Jay could probably help with this, but that north street that angles around, that's just an existing drainage ditch that the parish is using right now. And it didn't seem like they're, at the meeting, it didn't seem like it's going to continue as a drainage ditch. There's no plan to put a street in there. It's only 25 feet wide. So it seems like the parish right now is content with using it for drainage. So there's
Okay.
really nothing else to connect to other than us to try to, like I said, work with engineering to get an acceptable turnaround.
And, and on that matter, engineering does think that the road can be constructed at 16 feet, and that damages oak tree.
Yeah, and we would need to look at it more. We were thinking maybe to put the swale on the other side of the ditch, or on the other side of the roadway away from the tree to give it a little more room away from the tree.
Yeah, because
But,
obviously, if the root system's gonna be underneath the drape, you may be
Right.
concerned about that, so I would do that. I don't have a problem with having a 16-foot, the road width.
Right,
yeah.
the 16-foot road width, we don't have a problem with that
Yeah.
from a traffic standpoint, and it's just going to be accessing the 2 lots, so once they figured out whether or not they had permission to actually enter the right-of-way, then we can work on this plan more to get an approved plan.
With that being said, I'll make a motion to approve with the variance of the road width.
A motion by Commissioner Davis to approve. Commissioner Casabon.
I just want clarification. Okay, the tree is in the parish right-of-way? It's in the
Yes,
road.
ma'am.
It's in our parish right-of-way
Yes.
on this. So if the tree doesn't make it, is this one of those cases where we would have to replace something, but because the parish owns it, we wouldn't? I don't see the tree making it either with, I don't know, we can't make him plant anything or whatever. So this is, have we had any landscape,
Our landscape architect looked at this.
And what did they say?
And they were okay with this plan,
That-
trying to move around
okay.
it and miss the tree. But I don't know how, he would mitigate for an oak tree that's in the parish right away and not on
Okay,
his
that's what I was
property.
saying. If it was not in his property and it's in the parish right away, it's just a matter that it came up and, there shouldn't be, he should not be made to you know, pay for more landscaping or whatever.
Tree's
But,
probably close
so
to
the
50, 60
16
years
feet
old.
would be acceptable. Okay.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
No, we don't.
I'll make a,
It was seconded by Commissioner Casabon. Commissioner Dougherty?
Yes. Again, concern on the tree, and if you maybe move the swale to the other side, but it says existing 48-inch live oak. What is the 48-inch?
It's the caliper, the diameter.
Okay. All right. I'm just, like Martha and Jimmy, real concerned about the root system on the tree. I just, it's gonna be difficult to save that tree and do what the gentleman's wanting to do. What is the current zoning on these lots?
I don't have that in front of me. I don't know what the current zoning is.
So we don't have any idea what, does the gentleman know what he's intending to do? Come to the mic.
No, sir, we hadn't gotten that far. We're just trying to get the street in, and then I guess we'll go to Plan B. If we didn't get the street in, then I guess we're stuck at Plan A. So, no, I don't have anything drawn.
Is it gonna be residential, or are you looking at going commercial? What are you looking?
Oh, no, it's a residentially zoned area. I was trying to think of the zoning. I can't remember it, though, sorry.
That's all right. You know, it's residential, so that part's good.
All the
but
homes on 10th Street are residential, yes, sir.
I'm just real concerned about that tree and saving it, and I'm looking at the scale on the drawing here. 1 inch is equal to 40 feet, and that street that you're going to be putting through is not even on the drawing, which not even 40 feet away from the oak tree. So we've got a real problem there. So, Jay, what are you looking at? You said you were going to review something, or?
Well, we'll review and approve the plan, which is in the resolution here, that they're gonna have to have a plan that's gonna be reviewed and approved by the engineering department, and they have Kelly McHugh on here as their engineer. I would assume he'd be their engineer that's gonna have to submit the plan, but they're not required to provide this plan at this time. But due to the extenuating circumstances of both of the enter the right-of-way cases, they both provided plans to the commission tonight.
I believe I would like to see what you come up with, or what they come up with, what you come up with before I vote to approve.
Mr. Dougherty, just adding to what Jay said, we did have a meeting with Mr. Coate, and we did have our resident landscape architect who was there, and she felt fairly confident that their plan would save that tree. You know, remember, this is entering the right-of-way. They have a right to go and enter the parish right-of-way. People enter our right-of-ways all the time that have all different types of trees on them, and they clear-cut them in order to build the roadway. So this is just a matter where the developer has a good conscience and wants to try to save this beautiful oak tree, and so that's why they're trying to come up with this hybrid plan to do an aggregate roadway 16 feet wide, in hopes to be able to save that tree.
Don't have a problem with the 16-foot wide roadway. I do have a problem with the tree and not knowing, and I understand what you said about our staff landscape architect, but I'm just really having a problem with it. Thank you.
Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at, Buddy, can you go back up to the microphone, please? Thank you. It is a great tree, but I'm also confident that if we've got an arborist that says it can be done, I mean, we did something similar to that at Louis Prima Drive. I mean, there are ways to work around the oak tree. And the way I'm looking at it is you have a right of access here.
Exactly.
And are kind of working with the parish to save this tree. So I don't have a problem with the 16 feet. It looks as if someone's keeping it up. Is there landscaping around this tree in the right-of-way? Somebody's keeping this property up? There's a hedge line here. Obviously, the hedge line's in the right-of-way, so maybe the neighbors are keeping that area up. Do you know anything about it?
I'm not. The gentleman, if he's still here, he
Okay.
would know more about that. Yes, sir.
My only concern then is that lot It's probably, I don't know if it's to the west or north, it's called undeveloped. We don't have a lot number, but it's the lot on the other side of the oak tree. If somebody ever wants to develop that, how are they going to access it?
There was re-subdivided by the parish to one lot, so there is only one building site there now. I'm sorry we didn't put that on the plan, but it is a resub, it's only one lot, it is one building site. If you look at, when Dave or Kelly's office drew the plan here, when we met with the parish, we were showing, on one of the plans, we did have a driveway that shot off near where the existing hammerhead is. If you see where it ends, it provides access right there. Now, again, I don't know who owns it, and I don't know what plans they would have, but it would be very easy to branch off of what we're doing. Just, you could even do it almost off the existing hammerhead for access to that lot for minimum impact.
Well, I just want to make sure that we're not going to approve something that ultimately is going to be a problem later because there's another lot that comes into development.
Oh, yes, sir.
But I do understand and appreciate your efforts to save this tree. And if we have a certified arborist and someone that the parish uses thinking that we can possibly do it, there are ways to cut the roots, and I've seen it done to save that tree. I applaud your efforts here. Right now, based on these photographs, the hammerhead that exists looks like really parking.
I don't know.
So
Yeah.
I support the motion to approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Casabon?
I think my questions were answered.
Thank you. Commissioner Loring?
Excuse me. Since this road in the back, building on what Todd said just a moment ago, that unnamed street is being used by the parish as a drainage swale, those two lots have the legal right of access, and if we don't do it this way, how will you do it? You know? I think this is the least of all evils. And again, it looks like the undeveloped lot has a way of getting there through the hammerhead, as you mentioned. But certainly lot 39A wouldn't. And 36A might, but this seems to be able to solve both problems. So it seems to be a reasonable request.
Commissioner Drum?
Kelly, I have a question for you. This 10th Street, the parish takes care of that street?
10th Street is a parish maintained
Okay,
road.
now once the aggregate goes in there, are we going to take care of that as well?
Yeah, it's proposed to be a parish maintained road.
So when the tree eventually grows, no matter what they do to the roots right now, the parish will go in there and keep that road?
Yeah, it'll be a parish maintained road.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Davis, did that answer your question?
Indirectly, Mr. Buddy again. And so the road that you're putting next to the lots is going to be consistent with all the parish ordinances and such? It's going to be asphalt similar to what's on there now? Or are
Yes,
you going to
sir.
go limestone? Or can that be done?
I was going to actually leave that up to engineering. I mean, we can do asphalt, concrete, or aggregate, just whatever they feel is best.
If there's some worry about trying to save the tree, it may be
This
better to go with
resolution-
aggregate if it's allowed.
This
Anyway.
resolution is for an asphalt roadway.
Okay, well,
So,
then
so
the
that's-
request is for a hard
Okay.
surface, yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Richard?
Mr. Chair, I want to make a final comment. I looked at that unnamed road for about 10 years out of my window in my office building. That will never be built, but if you go around some of the other roads back there, there's oak trees right in the middle of the road, and we've asphalted around them. They've taken great efforts to protect the trees, and literally, if you drive on some of the streets back there in that direction, sometimes it's hard to make a turn. We got trees in the middle of the road, so I'm confident in the project and agree. I think we need to give access to these people's property.
Thank you. Any further comments? If not, I have a question for Commissioner Richard. 2/3, 8 votes required of the entire commission, correct? Thank you. Just a point of clarification, so Commissioner Richard, did clarify that the two-thirds will require 8 votes as all members of the commission. We have a motion by Commissioner Davis, second by Commissioner Casabon to approve. Please vote. Motion carries. Minority subdivisions, 2016-326-MSP, parcel D comprising 7.86 acres into parcels D1 and D2, Ward 1, District 3. The owner, Peggy Fitzsimmons, the surveyor, LS Land Surveying, LLC. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable James Red Thompson. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This involves a parcel that is 7.86 acres in size. The owner previously received approval from the Planning Commission for a 4-lot minor subdivision, which is basically a family compound. However, the owner is now seeking the creation of one additional parcel out of one of those 4 parcels from the original minor subdivision for her daughter in order to construct a home adjacent to her mother's property. Therefore, if the commission decides to approve this request, a waiver of the regulations are required relative to the road construction issue, and a 2/3 majority vote of the full membership of the commission, which is 8 members, is needed in order to approve pursuant to Section 40-100 waiver of regulations of subdivision ordinance 499.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? If you please come to the podium, state your name and address.
Peggy Fitzsimmons, 72233 Fitzsimmons Road in Covington.
Thank you. And your reason for the request?
My request is I want to give my daughter the 4-point-something acres.
27?
Yeah, so she can build a house.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none at this time, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Yeah, this is no problem with this. It's zone A2. These lots are 3 and 4 acres in size. I think the petitioner is still maintaining that existing gravel drive for many years. I move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to approve, second by Commissioner Casabon. Any further questions? Seeing none, please vote.
That's with the waiver.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for clarifying. Motion carries. 2016-328-MSP, a portion of land comprising Beauchene Golf Course fairways 8 through 12 into parcel A and parcel FW1, Ward 4, District 4. Owner, the Ernest Corporation, surveyor Randall W. Brown and Associates, Inc., Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Michael Lorino, Jr. Staff?
Hey, Mr. Chairman, this is a minor subdivision, kind of unusual request. It represents a fairway property that's part of the Beauchene Golf Course complex. And the reason why public hearing is required is that the parcel they're trying to cut out of this is less than 1 acre in size, and that's proposed parcel A on your survey attached. The owner is requesting that an approximate 1/2 acre parcel be created out of the Beauchene Golf Course fairway 8 through 12, comprising approximately 40 plus or minus acres. Although parcel A does not meet the minimum 1 acre lot size requirement for a minor subdivision, it should be noted that said parcel is zoned commercial, which would normally permit parcels of less than 1 acre in size, if not for having to comply with the minor subdivision 1 acre requirement. Therefore, if the commission decides to approve this request, a waiver of the regulations are required relative to the size issue, and a 2/3 majority vote of the membership of the commission, 8 members, is required in order to approve pursuant to Section 40-100 waiver of regulations of Ordinance 499.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here?
My name's Chris Inman. I live at 105 Audubon Lane in Mandeville.
And the reason for your request, sir?
Well, this piece was originally zoned CB1, and in January, we got it rezoned to NC4. Although it was owned by the Ernest Corporation that also owns the golf course, it was never really part of the golf course. It's a totally wooded piece at this time that exists on the north side of Troop L. And its northern boundary is the Bayou Tet-Lours. It's on the frontage road, 190 frontage road. And we put it back far enough so we could create a no-clear buffer zone back there so that the neighbors would be protected in terms of the view from their houses across the golf course. So it's 27,000 square feet in size, which meets all of the NC4 zoning regulation, but the minor subdivision requires a 1 acre or, I need a variance so that we can move ahead with it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
Mr. Inman,
Yes.
any way somebody with a duck hook's gonna hit your property?
No, actually, a tee box for number 11 is right behind it, so you'd have to have a
Right.
terrible hook to hit it.
Yeah, I actually recall when we went ahead and rezoned this
Yeah.
for you to NC4. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Davis, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Commissioner Lauren.
I have a question really for the staff more than anybody else. On the cover sheet of the staff analysis report, where it says, with the little X on it, it's got other PUD, multifamily, commercial, or industrial. I know good and well you're not going to put industrial out there.
No.
But my question is there some reason that was put there? Because if we approve it, we've approved that, haven't we?
It's still NC4.
Yeah, it's NC4. It's not PUD.
Okay.
It's not a suburban or a rural. It falls in the other category.
So that designation just means that it's one of those designations.
Pardon?
Having it checked off as other just means it's PUD, multifamily, commercial, or industrial. It means it's one of those. So since
Okay.
it's commercial, that's why
You've
it's
answered
checked
my
off.
question.
Good, thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions by the commission? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Please vote. It will require 8 votes. Motion carries. Petitions request entering the Tammany Trace, we have none. Revocations closing review, we have none. Re-subdivision review, we have none. Dormant subdivision review, we have none. Tentative subdivision review, we have none. Preliminary subdivision review, 2016-323-PP, Beatico Creek, Parcel 13, Ward 1, District 1. Developer owner, Beatico Creek Preserve LLC. Engineer, Kelly McHugh and Associates, Inc. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Dean. Staff?
Preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office and an inspection of the site was made. It's recommended that the preliminary submittal be approved subject to the following and no work order be issued until all punch list items have been resolved. A, subdivision plat 1, lots 841 and 819 have limited frontage along Bald Eagle Circle to comply with the restrictive covenant number 10. Consider removing the green space that separates lots from Beatico Trail Lane to allow for driveway access along Beatico Trail Lane, or adding a restrictive covenant that would allow for access for these 2 lots through the green space. Number 2, Bald Eagle Circle exceeds the maximum cul-de-sac length, therefore a waiver will be required. B, sewer and water. The sewer and water plan sheet must be signed and stamped by the engineer. 4, plans and specifications for the construction of the project's water distribution lines and sewer collection lines have not yet been approved by the Department of Health and Hospitals as required. C, stormwater. 5, need the following indicated on the SWIP and signage plan. A, indicate and/or note the location of the LDEQ permit and SWIP posting. B, note the complete path stormwater takes from the drainage infrastructure to creeks, rivers, and/or streams, including its ultimate disposal in the lake. Also include this note on the paving and drainage plan. D, paving and drainage plan. 6, verify slopes meet standards, verify 3-to-1 tying into the cross drains and meeting grade. 3, no maintenance obligation is required since this is an extension of private roadways. 4, no mandatory developmental fees will be required at final submittal in accordance with Ordinance 499 since a public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. Department of Development and Planning has no comments.
Thank you. Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Manella. Paul Marone on behalf of Beatico Creek Preserve LLC. Parcel 13 is another parcel as we move forward through the development of Beatico Creek subdivision. This is one of the many parcels that we've been working on to bring into commerce. With regards to the staff's comments, I'd like to address a few. First, under the subdivision plat regarding lots 841 and 819, as Jay noted, there is a strip of green space between both 841 and lot 819 and the adjacent roadway. So there's actually enough space between the edge of that roadway when you add that strip of green space to each lot so that we can meet the requirements under the restrictive covenant. So we believe that we're in compliance as we sit here this evening. We would prefer to have the green space remain green space as opposed to adding it to the lot. But if it is the commission's decision that you would rather see it added to the lot, then we can certainly do that as well. In either case, we have the necessary distance to comply with the driveway requirement from the edge of the street. As to item 2, under this section, the maximum cul-de-sac length for Bald Eagle Circle, as you'll see from the larger plan before you, we really don't have another alternative with regards to the street layout. You have entertained waivers of this particular requirement many other times where there's really not an opportunity for a cross street or something to break up that run, and we would request that waiver this evening. Finally, the sewer and water and the storm water. We believe that the engineer had stamped the sewer and water plan, but if that was not done, that was certainly an error. Mr. McHugh will take care of that. The water distribution lines and sewage collection lines have been submitted to DHH for approval. We expect their approval shortly. And finally, on stormwater and paving and drainage, these are comments that we were just receiving as of a few days ago. We have no objection to any of them, nor do we expect any problems with any of those. Be happy to make those changes as requested and to make the verifications that Mr. Watson requested, all of which can be done in very short order. So with that said, we would respectfully request your approval subject to your staff's comments. Again, with regards to comment about lots 841 and 819, we would request that the plan stay as shown with the green space, but if it is the commission's desire, we will add that strip of green space into each lot.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can I please quickly respond to those two lot issues?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
I mean, he still can do I think we talked about doing a curb cut to allow you just to cut through the green space for driveway access, not actually eliminate the entire green space. That's another option. But however, if the commission wants to entertain what Paul said, which is basically he says they have the distance that they need if you include the green space from the intersection for a driveway access. Technically, the ordinance requires it from the corner of the property line, so it would require a waiver if you decide to go that route.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Yep. I'm just confused with the green space. When we say we added in green space, does that belong to the association would have to maintain? I mean, or does the homeowners association do the grass cutting, or is it individual homeowners?
Yes, the association maintains the common areas of which
Yeah, okay.
this area would be part of the common area and would be maintained by the association.
Okay, as it stands.
As it
If we
stands
add
now.
it back in, to the homeowner, I really don't see, as long as it's maintained, I don't really see a problem with it. I guess
Yeah,
I'm
and-
confused on that note, but I'll hear from the rest of the commissioners.
Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, I don't know about adding the property to lots 84, 841 and 819, because if that property is going to be the landowners, they could basically build their driveway horizontal to the lot, and it wouldn't look too good coming off of vehicle trails. What I suggested is that at the north, hang on a second, at the northeast corner of 841, give them a 1-foot piece of property all the way to Beatico Trail Lane, and on 819 at the northwest piece of property, give them a 1-foot interval, and then you can declare that property line at that actual point.
Or you could just grant a waiver.
Or we can grant a waiver. That's exactly right. No,
Spoken
or
like
we
a
can grant the waiver.
true attorney.
I'm just trying to make it amends that, if it's such a big deal, I know we don't like the grant waivers, we
That's
just
right.
granted 3 of them.
We're going to subdivide
But,
this sucker.
You know what I mean? There's always areas in which we can fix these things. But
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree with that.
I don't think it's a big deal. I'd rather not add the property to 841 or 819, though.
Commissioner Richard.
I think we have some agreement here, but I do have a question with that particular issue. Does this exist anywhere else in this subdivision? I mean, this is not the first similar plot, I imagine, in all these various phases. Is this the first time we've had to deal with this waiver?
I believe, this is the first time I can recall it coming up in Beatico Creek. We've dealt with it in other developments from time to time. I can't recall it ever coming up in Beatico Creek before. But
I'm okay with the waiver, and it's going to require a near unanimous 8 votes to do it. But I'm going to also comment on the second one. On the actual length of the street and the cul-de-sac, I don't have a problem with that waiver either. You have 10 lots on one side, 13 on the other. I don't see another option, and I don't think that's that excessive. So I'm going to also support that waiver, and I move to approve with the waivers as noted.
Motion by Commissioner Richard to approve with the waiver, second by Commissioner Davis. Any further comments? Please vote. As Commissioner Richard stated, it will require 8 votes to grant the variance. Motion carries. Final subdivision review, 2016-317-FP, Versailles Business Park, Phase 1, Ward 3, District 5. Developer owner, Versailles Business Park, LLC. The engineer, Duplantis Design Group, PC. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Reichert Toledano. Staff?
Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and final inspection was made on June 28, 2016. The inspection disclosed that all concrete roads are constructed, road shoulders are constructed, the roadside ditches are functioning, detention ponds for the infrastructure have been constructed. The following minor uncompleted items existed at the time of final inspection and will be completed before the plats are signed. General, need floppy disk or latest format for as-built and subdivision plat. 2, blue reflectors are needed at each fire hydrant. The sewer and water comments have been addressed. Subdivision plat, remove flood zone A9 from restrictive covenant number 4. 6, label detention pond number 1 and detention pond number 2. 7, show extent of detention pond number 1 that has already been constructed to agree with the as-built drainage and grading plan. 8, need description of circled numbers 1 through 4 in the typical section of the roadway to agree with the as-built drainage and grading plan. D, as-built drainage and grading plan. Number 9, need as-built elevations of the pond. The developer is requesting that a performance obligation be established to cover the construction for the cost of detention ponds 1 and 2 associated with building permits for lots number 9 through 17 in accordance with the letter dated June 24th, 2016. copy attached. The Department of Engineering has reviewed the developer's request and has no objection to establishing a performance obligation in the amount of $298,060 for a period of 6 months. The performance obligation will not be released until all detention is constructed and certification provided by the engineer associated with each lot. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 2,380 linear feet times $25 per linear foot for $59,500 for a period of 2 years. The staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request subject to the developer complying with all comments, and no plats are to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. Since the developer has no end users, mandatory developmental fees are not due prior to signing the subdivision plat, but are due upon building permit application. This subdivision is within the urban growth boundary line.
Thank you. Mr. Soche.
Members of the council, Mike Soche. I'm a partner in Versailles Business Park and also president of Gulf States Real Estate, who oversaw the project management and the marketing of this project. I've given each of you a little packet on the project. The first page is the rendering for when this project was approved. I'm happy to report that the project is getting incredible interest from the business community and some from outside this area, which is what we had hoped. I'd like to just briefly go through the staff comments and give you an update on where we stand on those things. As it's mentioned in there, in the staff report, these are minor items. But, and we have our engineer here, Dustin Silvernagle with DTG Engineers tonight. Our schedule is to complete these minor items, which are some plat notes and a few minor things with the contractor this coming week, and during the 10-day layover period before the plats are recorded. We have our first sale scheduled for July 25th. I think the 10 days will be up on July 22nd, and that sale will be to Miss Lori McCants with Honda Covington, and she will be purchasing Lot 17. I'd like to also comment on the detention ponds. If you look at the second sheet or the plat, you'll see that the ponds are distributed around the perimeter and the rears of the lots. We have, in researching this property and doing our engineering evaluation, we have very, very good soil conditions on this property. You'll see a lot of projects in the area where they'll dig ponds, they'll clear an area, they'll have a big old pile of dirt. It's ugly, it's unsightly. Our goal here is to let our lot owners dig their portion of the pond and use that material out of the ponds as material for their building pads at the time they clear their lot. So it's a clean operation, it saves money, it saves time, and the bond cost is fairly substantial, but we're willing to do that $300,000 bond in order to guarantee those improvements. So that's the reason for that. That's the reason we didn't go in and dig all the ponds now, because we have great dirt there, and we figured, where were we going to put it? Best place to put it is back into Mother Nature on this particular project. So really, again, we should be 100% complete with all of these items, and before the 10-day period, layover period is up, so we can record the plat and make our first sale. And with that, I'm here to answer any questions you may have and request your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Soche. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public, bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, this is, I feel like, smart building, that using what's on the property, less traffic, less gravel trucks, that sort of thing.
Less haul off, haul on,
Less haul off,
haul
yes.
in.
But it's a beautiful rendering, like the aesthetics of it, and this whole particular area is coming together, I think, as we visualized it years ago with the access roads and the in and out of it, that it flows. And I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, a question. So currently, Lot 16 is the only lot that has a pond on it? Looking at the plats? None of these other future ponds have been constructed, is that correct?
We've dug the portion of Lot 16
Yeah,
to accommodate the runoff from the street construction itself.
okay.
So basically, so there was no net increase. So we met the drainage regulations, because we did put some paving down.
Right.
And we did clear some right of way.
Okay, so if each individual lot owner, what if they decide not to build a pond?
They cannot. It will be part of their deed. It will
Okay.
be part of their requirement to build, and they will not get a
Okay.
building permit if
Okay,
they
so
don't
who's
do
in
that.
charge of these ponds, the parish or each individual lot owner?
Each individual lot, this
How
will
are you
be,
gonna, but if they flow into each other, which they will, right?
correct.
How can you make sure one lot owner is gonna maybe clean up the pond before another lot owner does?
Because we have a commercial property owners association.
Ah, okay.
That will take
that's
care
what
of
I
the
needed.
cutting the grass and the right of ways and the maintenance of
Okay.
the pond. They will all
So it'll
contribute
be
to
all
that.
together then?
Correct.
I mean, even though it'll be each individual lot owner's
Correct.
responsibility, the whole lot,
Correct.
like a homeowner's almost like.
Yeah, commercial property owner
Gotcha.
association. I'd like to report on this too. We have convinced the business owners along the frontage road now, there's a pond, there's a dry pond out there. You may have seen some clearing and cleaning up.
Yeah.
To be a part of our association to keep all of it up. And,
I like that
and
idea.
that.
That's
So,
great. That's good
so
planning.
there's some rough cleaning up that's been done, but we plan on, if you look at the rendering, we plan on turning that dry pond into a wet pond, putting fountains out there. I mean, hopefully a year from now, it'll look like that.
Good idea. Thank you.
Commissioner Lauren?
Yes, my question is, do you have a second?
No.
Well, I'll second it.
Thank you. Second by Commissioner Lauren.
Oops.
Commissioner Richard?
I actually was going to second it, but I just want to clarify, you are going to comply with all staff's recommendations.
Absolutely.
Very
And
good.
we
Thank you.
have received a positive water sample when that report was done, but I do believe that sometimes you have to let the chlorine sit in the lines a little bit longer. We did pull another sample from the water lines, and that item is completed already.
Thank you.
Commissioner Richard, given that you were looking for the second, you are in support of this? Any other comments? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Lauren. Please vote. Motion carries.
Thank you.
2016-315-FP, Ruel Court, Ward 1, District 1. Developer owner, Coast Builders LLC. Engineer, Kyle Associates LLC. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Dean. Staff?
Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and final inspection was made on June 28, 2016. The inspection disclosed that all asphalt roads are constructed, road shoulders are constructed. The roadside ditches have standing water in several locations and need to be regraded to provide positive flow. The following uncompleted items existed at the time of final inspection and will be completed before the plats are signed. 911 addresses on the subdivision plat indicate benchmark description on the plat. Entrance culverts and roadside ditches in the vicinity of the entrance have standing water. The standing water needs to be eliminated. The 12-inch PVC culverts on the side of Lot 1 and 8 need to be installed before the plats are signed, or the note must be in place on the subdivision plat. Note 1 states, lot fill sufficient to bring the rear perimeter lot grade to elevation 19.15 is required. Prior to plat being recorded, this information is not shown on the grading and grading and drainage plan. Therefore, the plan must be revised to show this elevation. All other notations on the grading and drainage plan must state that the work has been completed. Dry detention pond has standing water. Regrade to eliminate standing water. Roadside ditch slopes at the main entrance need to be regraded. The sewer manhole cover needs to be lowered to the natural ground elevation. Negative bacteriological report relative to the construction of the project's water system has not been issued by DHH as required by 4070 of the Subdivision Regulatory Ordinance 499. Letter of acceptance and responsibility for the perpetual maintenance and operation of the water and sewer system has not yet been issued by the utility provider as required. need base test results, need asphalt test results, utility trench bedding test results, utility trench backfill test results, floppy disk or latest format, need blue reflectors at fire hydrants. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 665 linear feet at $22 per linear foot for $14,600 for a period of 2 years. Staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request subject to the developer complying with all comments, and no plats are to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. Mandatory developmental fees are as follows. Road impact fee, $1,077 per lot times 12 lots is $12,924. Drainage impact fee, $1,114 per lot times 12 lots is $13,368. Fees are due before the subdivision plats can be signed. The subdivision is within the urban growth boundary line.
Thank you. Mr. Moran.
Thank you, Mr. Manella. Paul Marone on behalf of Coast Builders LLC with regards to Ruel Court. I'm pleased to report that all of the field work required pursuant to the punch list have been completed. That includes the regrading of the detention pond and regrading of the ditches to get to positive flow. All that is done. I've just been informed that all of the revisions to the plans that are required and the as-built are done as well and have been completed by Mr. Bono's office and submitted to our engineer. So the only outstanding items that we are aware of at this point in time is the letter of acceptance from Tammany Utilities and the asphalt test results. We do have the negative bacteriological report from DHH. That was submitted, so that should trigger Tammany Utilities' ability to issue the letter of acceptance in short order. With regards to the asphalt test results, we know that those were taken, but we don't have them for some reason. We're not exactly sure why the consultants had not submitted those to us, but since they're done, we expect to have them shortly as well. The only other item that I would point out to you is under the paving and drainage comments, item number 5, and it is the section that talks about the note where lot fill sufficient to bring a rear and perimeter lot grade to elevation 19.15 is required prior to plat being recorded. In working with Mr. Earl Magner in engineering, that is really a function that will take place not before the plat is filed, but before a home is built on it. The fill for these lots will be put in place pursuant to a building permit. So what we have suggested, or what Mr. Earl Magner suggested, and which we would like to do and we would ask your consideration, is to change that note so that it says just what it says now, except where it says prior to plat being recorded, it would be prior to a building permit being issued for that lot, so that it is tied to the actual lot coming into commerce as opposed to simply the filing of the final plat. Other than that one modification and the 2 minor items that we expect to have shortly, all other items are completed. We would respectfully request your approval of final for Ruel Court and these 12 lots, subject to the comments that your staff has made and subject to the comments that I've given to you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, Paul,
Yes.
you got my curiosity now. How much higher is that sewer manhole than the ground level? Just, I mean, is it like 8 feet?
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's completed. I'm not sure how high it was that it had to be lowered.
I just
but
didn't want somebody driving down the
No,
street and see
it's-
a chimney coming out of the.
that work is
Okay.
done.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dougherty. Commissioner Richard.
I have a question to staff. What Paul's asking for regarding making a change, having the elevation raised prior to building permits versus the plats being signed, Is that something we've done or we do typically, or is this out of the ordinary, this request?
No, I don't believe this is out of the ordinary, and we were working in conjunction with their engineer, and we did agree. The reason our comment was stated how it is in the staff report is because that note was still on the paving and drainage plan, so that was why our comment was there. But we do feel that if they changed the note and added it to the plat, then that would be sufficient.
That'd be acceptable to staff?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lauren.
Yes, Paul? Do you have a copy of the plat?
Yes, sir, I do.
And I would respectfully ask the commissioners if you would open up your plat, and let's look at it together. This came to us several months ago for previous approval, before we got to the final stage. This is a very unique situation. If you look over on the right-hand side, you see where it says Ruel Deschênes Drive. That's the entrance to that subdivision. And if you look to Ruel Court, if you see lot 7 in light letters up at the top, lot 10, lot 11, those are existing homes. This is a subdivision that will be in the heart of a different subdivision, but it'll be accessed through the subdivision. And one of the questions that came up, there was a good bit of opposition when it came up initially. The homeowners, that's a pretty good sized subdivision, the original subdivision. And their concern was that this piece of land was going to be not the same as theirs. It would be right in the middle of their subdivision, but it wouldn't be the same as theirs in terms of lot size, deed restrictions, membership in the homeowners association, and those sort of things. And we were assured that before it came to final, that it would. And my question is, I just want to make sure before we put the final stamp on it, that it has been done.
Well, Mr. Lauren, to the best of my knowledge, everything, it has been developed in accordance with what was agreed and what was approved. The only hesitation that I have is I don't know as I stand here what the situation is with regards to any restrictions that Ruel Deschênes has and whether Ruel Court is part of that or whether they have mirroring descriptions.
I have something to add. I'm Kevin Gray with Kyle Associates. They have an agreement in place
If you
with.
go to the
I'm sorry.
microphone, please.
They have an agreement in place
Excuse
with
me,
the.
would you identify yourself?
I'm sorry, Kevin Drain with Kyle Associates. I'm the engineer.
Okay.
They have an agreement in place with the Homeowners Association of Ruel Deschênes that they are going to adopt in whole the deed restrictions of Ruel Deschênes for Ruel Court.
Okay. Are they going to be part of the homeowners association?
Yes, they are.
That, as long as that's in place, that was my question, because otherwise, you know, the other people would be paying for what
Correct, yes.
they benefit from.
Right.
But if that's in place and is on the record, then I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Well, being on the record, it's not on the plat, is it, on the under the restrictive
I
covenant?
believe on the revised plat it is on.
Okay, just to make sure it's on the plat before the final plats are recorded. Yeah.
Commissioner Dougherty?
Yes, on this one and also the previous one, and then we have an old business item. And I'm a little bit confused. The warranty obligation on this one and the previous one we approved says 2 years. But yet we have an old business item that's taking it from 2 years to 5 years.
Yeah, and so the warranty obligations, the duration that we required a warranty obligation changed in the past. I believe it was a 1-year warranty obligation, then it changed to a 5-year warranty obligation, and now it's a 2-year warranty obligation. So the length of the warranty obligation is tied to the time that it got preliminary approval. And so the old business item, the preliminary approval was granted under the 5-year warranty obligation, and this was under the 2-year, and the previous subdivision was under the 2-year.
And today it's what?
Right now, when subdivisions get approved and get preliminary, it's 2-year.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any further questions? We have a motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Please vote. Motion carries. Proposed amendments to Ordinance 499. An ordinance to amend the St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Appendix B of Chapter 40, Subdivision Regulatory Ordinance Number 499, specifically the supplemental section under the preliminary approval drainage check sheet for the purpose of correcting a $20 fee charge. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, this is just a simple amendment to the code. What it just kind of basically says, it's under the preliminary approval drainage check sheet. The error was found on that sheet where it depicted a one-time $20 inspection fee charge for sewer and water facilities for new subdivisions, when in fact the charge is already depicted in the final approval paving and drainage check sheet. We have not double charged developers. We do not collect it at that fee. At the preliminary stage, we simply return the checks to them, but because it's in the supplemental section, the developers have been submitting that amount. So just to kind of clean this up and for clarification, we want to amend the code to take that out.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the recommendation? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public, bring it to the, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you. Caller Hernandez. You know, it's interesting that it doesn't appear to me quite as simple as it was just depicted here on there. If I could read from the preliminary subdivision fees to be paid, it says subdivision fees, $30 per lot. Then it says storage and water fees, $10 per lot, plus a $20 one-time inspection fee. Then it says linear feet of water distribution pipe at 6 cents per linear foot. Then for storage collection pipe, 11 cents. Then it says water supply facilities, $30 per facility. Then storage collection treatment facilities, $30 per facility. Then under final, it says subdivision, $60 per lot. Then it has the $15 per lot plus a $20 one-time inspection fee. Now, it would seem reasonable to me that you would not only have an inspection fee during preliminary, but also final. Why wouldn't you? It seems to me that you would have to have someone go out and at least it would seem to me that if I were looking at preliminary plans, that I would want to go out, assuming I'm not intimately familiar with the area, that I would want to go out and check the area out to see that, in fact, you know, it conforms to what's being put on paper. And, you know, the other interesting point is that if you compare to what's in the code, in the fees section, then it gets interesting, because that $20 per in the preliminary is not in there. It is in there. And it's not called inspection. It is in there for final. But then the other fees that are referenced in preliminary are not the same. Two of them are not the same. One of them, which talks about 6 cents per linear foot, is 5 cents in the code. The other one that's talked about 11 cents is 10 cents per linear foot. So obviously there's something that's not coordinated here between the code with the fees and you know, what's in the supplemental drainage check sheet that's referenced here. So I would suggest that someone needs to take a look at the code and that. And I guess the real bottom line question is, and I see someone's about to answer that, I think, is why isn't it possible to have an inspection fee at both preliminary and at final? It would seem reasonable to me that you could have it at both. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition or make comment? Jay?
It's a wonderful question, but you can't have an inspection at preliminary because nothing has been constructed at preliminary, so there's nothing to inspect.
Mr. Hernandez, unless the commissioner addresses you, though one can. It's time I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
Question for staff. So we've been charging for this $20 fee during preliminary, or we haven't been?
No, it's my understanding that
Oh.
we've been,
So you just basically just erasing it?
The developers have been submitting the money to cover that, but because there is no inspection, we've just been giving it back to them. It's become a burden on us to have to
Okay.
keep refunding
I
money.
think that's what, I think that clearly explains it.
Now, Mr. Hernandez, make a point, there are some minor glitches in the supplemental sections. The code was changed on the 10 cent to 11 cent and the 5 cent to 6 cent, but it wasn't carried over to the supplemental. So we realize that, and that's going to be addressed in our comprehensive code reform that's currently undergoing.
That's a good idea. And I do appreciate Carlo coming up here and addressing that, Carlo, because it did initially look like it might have been like a double dipping kind of thing, and we didn't want to charge $20 twice. We could have charged during preliminary $10 and final $10, and it would have been total 20. Anyway, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second it.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, second by Commissioner Casabon. Any further comment? Please vote. Motion carries. Old business, Grand Oaks, Phase 2B, Ward 1, District 1. The developer owner, Marina Developers LLC. Engineer, Kelly McHugh and Associates LLC. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Dean. Request by developer to revise warranty obligation. Staff.
Honorable Commissioners, the warranty obligation in the amount of $57,200 was established for a period of 1 year at the December 8, 2015 Planning Commission meeting. This is to advise that an error was made with regards to the extent of the time frame of the warranty obligation. This warranty obligation is to be for a 5-year period. It's therefore recommended that the Planning Commission establish the $57,200 warranty obligation for a 5-year period commencing on December 8, 2015, the date of final approval.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak in favor of this? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Lauren. Commissioner Dougherty.
Yes, I mentioned this to Paul, Jimmy, and I noticed it on the reference. It says preliminary approval. That should be final approval. Right, Mr. J? That should be final, right?
Should be final.
Yes, it should be, the letter was, the subject of the letter was incorrectly preliminary approval. It should have read final approval, correct?
So the motion would be amended to include the final. So with that, we have a motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Lauren as amended. Please vote. Motion carries. Is there any new business to be brought before the commission? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.